Hey, how we doing today? Humans are kind of gosh, we're suckers for an easy story and an easy truth. And I think it goes back to that kind of that lizard brain on the savannah being chased by a lion. It doesn't matter how old the lion is or how many teeth it has. It's just we got to get out of the way. But it really short circuits because by accepting those shortcuts, sometimes it really can harm us. Um, and what do I mean by shortcuts? I'll give you an example. Is growing up, we moved back from Cleveland, Ohio, exciting Cleveland, Ohio, to Boston, Massachusetts in 1976, which I always enjoyed history. My grandfather was cool. I thought my grandfather was neat, World War II, all of that. So I was always focused on the past and what was going on. And we drop into Boston on the bicentennial. And it was like mid-June. So 2 weeks later, it's 4th of July. That was a cool summer. The next several years, because they had spent so much money on the bicentennial. But there's so many things like Paul Revere's ride it's totally taken from the Longfellow poem. Is none of that actually happened that way. He wasn't the only guy. They just picked him. And you can still go see the you can still go see his house in the North End. It's kind of cool. And I was watching earlier this year is Ken Burns did that 6-part series on the revolution. And my gosh, the things that my grandfather knew were facts that weren't really facts. Um, it was a long slog. 6 at least hour-long episodes was a lot on just the revolution. I was glad I recorded it because sometimes I fell asleep. It was just later at night. I'm getting older apparently, so it's harder to stay awake. But things like George Washington wasn't that great of a general most of the time. He just wasn't. Was fascinating to find out. Um, we like to think that the redcoats were just these evil people, and we were bastions of Christian honesty, and fought fair, and they didn't. And yeah, that wasn't the truth either. It's like, wow, that's different. One of the ones I still love, not from that, but just history in general. My grandfather, you know, when did people land in America, the U.S.? The Pilgrims, 1620, Plymouth Rock, world's most unexciting roadside attraction is Plymouth Rock. It's literally a rock in the water with this mausoleum around it. It's not even the rock they landed on. They didn't land there. They landed in Provincetown first. It was they don't know which rock they landed on, but it's carved 1620, and you go, oh, that's the first colony. Well, no, it's the first permanent colony because you got Jamestown is 1607, I think. Um, and that was kind of permanent, but they had a gap, so it's not really permanent. So that's what they consider uh, Plymouth to be. That's the first permanent colony in the United States. Okay. Wait, what about Roanoke? Oh, shoot, Roanoke, 1585, I think. Um, and they just disappeared. But they found out relatively recently that they didn't die. Is the surviving settlers just kind of interspersed themselves into the Croatoan Indian tribe, but that's not really a settlement. So that's why it's 1620 is the first permanent colony in the United States, except that it's not. Santa Fe was founded in 1610. Um, So yeah, it's 1610, I guess, is the right number. But even that number's wrong. Is St. Augustine is 1565. The first colony in the United States is St. Augustine, Florida, 1565 by the Spanish. So really, 1620 is the first permanent British colony in the Americas. And that's what it comes down to. But we don't know that. We go to school and we get taught that's the first colony. Columbus founded the New World, and he didn't. And then the Pilgrims were the first settlers, and they weren't. But it's important when we're looking at just our financial lives to understand that there are some of these shortcuts we take that can be dangerous. And I want to talk about 3 specific ones today. First one, social media. Please don't trust social media. It is not the truth. It's so far from the truth. It is frightening. Um, I have there's this fake Disney account on Instagram and I forget that it's fake. And I'll get every once in a while, I'll see this thing and I'll forward it to my oldest daughter, who's a big Disney fan. Did you see this is coming? And she will send back the next day, Dad, that's that fake Disney account. None of that is real. Oh, they got me. They got me again. It's like once every 2 months, it shows up. I look and I go, wow, that's cool. And it's late at night. I'm just scrolling through, killing time before I go to bed, and I'm not at my peak. But there were two just recently in social media that scared the pants off of me. There was this guy a couple of months ago, and I watched the whole thing because I was fascinated at the insanity of it. And he was talking about, if you go to the grocery store and you see foods, especially prepared foods, that might say kosher, they might say parev, they might have a K on them or a P on them. And if you don't know, I would think most people know at this point what that really means is those are certain levels of kosher if you're Orthodox Jewish, that you're looking for those things that are prepared in accordance with biblical law. That's very important. Oh no, he goes on for 3 or 4 minutes about that's actually superfood. I'm going to say it the way he said it, for the Jewish people so that they can retain control over the rest of us. And I wasn't astounded at what he was saying. People out there do believe that. There are crazy people. I was astounded at the production value and his ability to be credible. Scared the pants off of me. Scared the pants off of me that this guy was not some person in a basement, you know, spouting these things. He seemed intelligent and he seemed to think that he was correct, even though there was no facts to bear it out. It's kind of like the people that talk about, that we faked the moon landing, which if you take 5 seconds, you can realize we didn't fake the moon landings. The other one was this woman. There was a big release of Jeffrey Epstein documents, and the Justice Department happened to release it at 3 a.m. That's just when they released it. They were probably working round the clock to try to get these out. They released it, and she did 2 minutes on this big conspiracy if they tried to fool us by releasing it at 3 a.m. And they're trying to hide something because of that, except that everybody read the million documents and they were out there. It's not like it was a surprise. She wasn't breaking news. But again, the production value, again, is probably on an iPhone, on a stand or whatever. But she gave what seemed to be very credible arguments. The audio was good. The video was good. It was stable. It looked professionally done or relatively professionally done. And she's just spouting absolute nonsense. So let's take this to the financial realm. Now, there is no vetting for somebody who thinks that the Jewish people are out to get us. There's no vetting for people that think that the Epstein cover-up is being perpetrated or not perpetrated by whatever political party you agree or disagree with. But when you start dealing with financial issues, when I do things like this on Instagram, Facebook, my podcast, YouTube, whatever, I am beholden to a massive standard, a massive fiduciary standard that the SEC can come in their normal, regular, once every 5 or so year audit and take a look at what I've said and can question it. So I run every podcast I record past my compliance folks that I pay for to make sure that everything's in compliance. I also am very big stickler for the details. Is making sure I get things as accurate as humanly possible, caveats when necessary. That's not always true out there. There's a guy and his thing is, yeah, I used to be a financial advisor and a portfolio manager, which you don't do both of those things. You just don't. I don't know what he was, but he's not either of those. And sometimes he has good information and sometimes it's not great information. He's just there for the clicks. He is just there for the clicks. Um, One of the hot trends over the winter last year that I must have seen. I don't know if it's because the algorithm told me that I needed this or if it was hot, but the big thing was putting money in a 401k is stupid. Only stupid people put money in a 401k. That's a really broad statement. If it was remotely true, that's a broad statement. It's remotely, it's not even close to true, but be wary of social media, whether it's um, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, uh, YouTube. It doesn't matter where you're getting that information. You need to verify it. You can't just rely on somebody and say, there's my shortcut, because that can get you in a lot of trouble. Second people we don't want to trust is the media. And I'm sorry, I know I harp on this. If you get our client newsletter, or client email, you get this all the time. Is don't turn on cable news. Just don't. They're terrible. Is years ago, it's 2008, and a friend of mine was a cop in town, and good guy. He's since passed, and I had to go over to his office for some reason. Now, he was a cop. His office was in a housing community, giant apartment complex type place. Um, and he had an office there so that there was somebody on duty pretty much all the time, or at least a regular thing, so that there was community involvement, things of that nature. And he was great at that. This guy was superb at that. But he was Mr. Fox News. That's all he watched. He watched Fox News. He watched um, diners, drive-ins, and dives, but never went anywhere because all he wanted to eat was a hamburger. Uh, and that was pretty much it. And I'm sitting over there. Now, if you don't remember this, because it was 18 years ago, but the summer of 2008, oil hit $150 a barrel. It just started screaming from like $60 a barrel throughout the year to 150. And at the time, every expert in the world said oil was going to 200. And I was watching, here and there, reading reports, Wall Street Journal even, about all of this. And I'm sitting down with my friend John in his office, and he's got Fox News on in the background. It's middle of the day, so nobody's watching really. And they have this guy on, and he was some oil trader guy, and he said everybody thinks oil is going to 200 because it's at 150, and I'm here to tell you it's not. He said production is way up, consumption is already falling. There's no way it's going to get to 200. And if it does go any higher than it is right now, it's going to be temporary. Now, I have been saying that for 3 months, and I was dumbfounded that this one person actually said that. And it really hit home 18 years ago that this was the only guy on TV that was talking about this. And the reason nobody else was talking about it, because it didn't matter, is Fox News didn't care if oil prices were going up or going down. They just cared about eyeballs on the TV. And that was it. That was the extent of what they were worried about, was let's make sure that people are watching. And if you think about it, if oil's at 150, if you say it's going to 60, a couple people will watch. If you say it's going to 200, everybody is now glued to their set. Um, and that's really what's going on a regular basis. Is they're not there to provide you with the best accurate reporting, even though they may claim that, and they may to some extent believe that, the talking heads that are on TV. But the reality is, um, their focus is to sell ad time. I heard someone say once, that if you're not paying for something, you're not the consumer, you're the product. And you think about it, is I'm 57. I grew up in the pre-cable age, the pre-pay TV age. Of course, pay TV is now turning into a commercial pay TV. So remember when you could buy Netflix, and, well, first of all, there was Netflix was the CDs, and then you bought Netflix and it was $8 a month, and they had a cadre of movies you could watch, and they started their own TV shows, and isn't that great? And then Amazon came along, and HBO and Disney, and this is all great. And we've got Peacock and the other Paramount, all of these streaming services. And then they decide someday, you know what? We're going to start showing you commercials. No, 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 no. I'm paying you to not show me commercials. Yeah, we're going to show you commercials. The one that frosts me the most. And they're going to get in trouble for it because it's it violates their agreement with the government, is pro sports on a pay system. So I get Netflix commercial free. And if football is on Netflix Thursday, I think it's Thursday night, it says Netflix football, or is it Amazon, whatever it is. But there is football or baseball or something. There's commercials. Why am I watching commercials? Why am I watching any commercial? I'm already paying you to watch this. I shouldn't have to pay somebody else to do that. But pre all of that, go back to broadcast TV days, rabbit ears, the antennas on our roofs. Uh, that was provided to us for free. For free. Why? Because advertisers had willing participants. They had us there and they could feed it. And it's to the point of, if you're over the age of 55, you can sing the Oscar Mayer song. You remember when, you know, the Reese's commercial was people, one person sitting there with a jar of peanut butter, another person with a chocolate bar bumping into each other over and over and over again. All of those were a big deal. Is the Coca-Cola song, which is not the Coca-Cola song anymore, is not the Coca-Cola song anymore because it was such a great song that people kept calling radio stations asking for them to replay the commercial because they love the song so much. Fun fact: 1972 maybe was when that happened. They are there to sell ad time, and it doesn't matter. And I will tell you, they're all the same. I know MSNBC people that say, Fox News is a bunch of liars, and I can't believe they're on the air. And I know a bunch of people that are Fox News fans that say MSNBC people are a bunch of liars. I don't know how they're on the air. Catches, they're both right. They're both liars because they don't care. They don't care to the extent of this is no, Walter Cronkite is long gone. Integrity in news is long gone. It's about eyeballs. There's so much, Walter Cronkite was doing the news when there were three networks, and that was it. And it was credibility. Now there's 100, 1,000 between, again, Instagram, YouTube, just various websites out there that just produce their own content on top of multiple cable news stations, multiple broadcast news stations. They don't worry as much about the content, and you need to be careful with that because they will tell you things that aren't necessarily true just because it's expedient for them, because it suits their means and not yours. Last one. This is the obvious one too. Don't trust the government, and for reasons that don't that aren't may not be obvious. I want to take it back a step. Don't trust the government because it's because of you and me, is what it comes down to. Um, the government is there. We believe the government is here to save us, and that's not their job. It just isn't. It's not what they're designed to do. It's not what we should be having them do. Um, when I was probably 4. I hate the water. I don't hate it, but my daughter and son will have a pool. I don't think I've actually been in the pool yet. Maybe once, maybe. They've had it for 3 years. I've never been in the pool. I don't care. When my kids were little, my parents had a pool, and we spent a lot of time there. I've been a little bit, and that was it. I'm not a water person. I never was, but I remember when I was 4 years old, we had an above ground pool in the backyard in Cleveland, Mentor, Ohio, and I used to have like water wings and maybe a tube around me. I'm 4. It's 4 feet of water, but I'm 2 feet tall, so that's 2 feet more than me. I'm not liking it at all. I was not a big fan. And I remember one day my dad said, I need you to learn how to not use the water wings anymore. And he gave me just a kid's May West style orange life vest, straps around. It's got the things in your neck stuck up in the thing. I hate those. And he's outside the pool, which may not have been the smartest thing. And I'm on the edge, and I am death gripping for all it is worth. He's laughing, and I get it. I get it. It must have been hysterical to him. I have kids. I have grandkids. It's hysterical. My granddaughter got her ankle caught in one of our chairs about a month or two ago, and I was right there. I was helping her. We got her out. And I was like chief architect of trying to get it. It wasn't me that got it, but it was it. But I couldn't stop laughing while doing it because, man, I have been here. I have been here with my kids. I've been here myself. So my dad's sitting there laughing somewhat, trying to get me just to let go and to trust that I'm going to float. I am not trusting. And he was 100% right. And if he was the government, You know what he would have done? He would have thrown water wings, the tube, an SS minnow, life raft. Um, he would have done everything to save me from actually learning how to swim, because that's what the government does. Um, Politicians are bad parents of petulant children, and it's our fault because we put them in that place in the first place. Um, those parents. You cringe at those parents. I was visiting a friend of mine. I was in another town. She was in the same other town, and she said, "You should come over to my brother's house for dinner." Okay, off I went. So the brother and the wife and their young son, Matt. Matt was 6, maybe 7, something like that. Matt was okay. He wasn't that hyperactive. He would go to bed between 10 and 11 o'clock at night, refused to go to bed before that. Uh, just, no. And the parents are like, well, okay. Well, okay. What else are we going to say? You're the parent. You're the parent. It's your job to put him to bed at the right time. That's your job as the parent. They didn't see it that way. What else are we going to do? If the kid wants to stay up, I guess we'll have to let him stay up. And if you think about it, that's how politicians are. Politicians, whether it's at the local level or the national level, are purely there to get reelected. So they've got to keep the constituents happy, um, which means that they will offer and pass legislation that is not helpful at all under the guise of it being helpful. And I don't want you to trust them. I'll give you 2 examples on the presidential stage, and um, you're not going to like one of them. Is everybody's leaning very hard left or right these days? I tend to stay right in the middle, and I'm okay there. There are times they go, "Oh, yay for this side." I go, "Oh, yay for that side." I go, "Ooh, bad for that side." "Ooh, bad for that side." I don't get caught up in that. I don't have That's not part of my identity. Uh, but I'll give you 2 examples. Is Joe Biden. Joe Biden spent 4 years trying to get college debt wiped out. And that's a bad parent of a petulant child. You're not solving the right problem. I feel bad for these kids, but you're not solving the problem. You're just perpetuating the problem. The problem is that college was overpriced and grossly underdelivered. You got to solve that problem first. You can't just say, well, these other people. The other people, by the way, are you and me. These other people are just going to pay that bill for you. Nope. 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 That's like going to the track and you lose and you come out and you go, "Hey, Joe Biden, how about you give me some of that money because I lost at the track. I made a bad decision on the number 5 race and I'd like my money back." And you can't do that. You've got to find a better solution. But you have a bad parent of petulant children. Late last year, President Trump, so late 2025, rolls out. Now, financially, he is a brilliant man. When it comes to real estate, he is extra brilliant. The guy really has his finger on the pulse of that market. And I got very irritated at this because I know in his heart of hearts, he knows this is wrong. He rolled out, I think we should have 50-year mortgages. Now, on the surface, it seems reasonable. Um, it's going to drop payments by about, I think it was like 12%. If you refinance your 30-year into a 50-year, it'd lower payments by about 10-12%, something like that. Sounds reasonable. Sounds like a good plan, right? It's an awful plan. It is an awful, 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 awful plan, because here's what's going to happen is the first couple of people that refi or buy into with a 50-year mortgage are going to be okay. And then sellers are going to be wise because, well, buyers will make the mistake and sellers will get wise. What's going to happen is I can afford a payment of X. Let's say that's $3,000 a month. And now it's only $2,400 or $2,600. Oh, wait, I could own that house, but I'd rather buy that house over there, the bigger house, the nicer house, closer to the beach, whatever it is, because it's that incrementally more in price. And I can afford that now because I can take a 50-year mortgage versus a 30. And I go do that. But 3 or 4 of my neighbors want the same thing. What do? They pushed the price up. So all of a sudden, everybody's paying the same as they used to before for the same size house they used to before. But instead of on 30 years, they're paying it over 50 years. They're paying, I don't know, probably 30%, 50% more. I haven't run the numbers in interest over that time. It's not helping the American people at all. It's not helping anybody. And it will backfire, just like when the government stepped in and started providing loans for college education. Did nothing but raise the price of college education. Terrible parents of petulant children. What do? There's not much you can do. Vote against it. Ronald Reagan said 40 years ago, 45 years ago, the 9 scariest words in the English language is, I'm from the government and I'm here to help. And it really is true. So I want you to be aware of that. Is when the government tells you to get this great idea, look behind the curtain, because it's probably a bad idea. It's probably they're coming up with it because they're just trying to appease somebody or appease the masses. And you want to be careful of that. So those are my 3 things for today. Not really a call to action day in terms of the podcast. I just wanted to kind of share some thoughts on things that you may not think about. That's part of what we try to do here, is to get people to look at the reality behind what's going on, because it'll make you make better decisions financially and otherwise. So any questions, jump down in the show notes. You can reach out, get in touch with us through our website or through social media. We are on social media. Again, we are regulated on social media, so I think it's okay. But you can just jump in there, or you can shoot us an email, dennis@successfulmoney.com. Goes directly to me. If you have a question, feel free, just reach out. So with that, stay safe out there.
Thank you for listening to our podcast. Remember, the views expressed are not necessarily those of Successful Money Strategies. All content is for educational purposes only and should not be construed as an endorsement of any third party or their views, or as a solicitation or offer to sell securities or provide investment, tax, legal, or consulting services. We believe the information presented to be reliable, but it is not guaranteed for accuracy or completeness. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal. Hypothetical returns do not reflect actual trading and may not be indicative of the performance of any specific investment. Always consult with a qualified financial advisor before making any investment decisions. Past performance is not a guarantee of future results. Additional information, including management fees and expenses, is provided on our Form ADV Part 2, available upon request, or at the SEC's Investment Advisor Public Disclosure website, https://advisorinfo.sec.gov.